Teachers of Reddit, what was the most annoying thing you ever had to deal with in class? Don't forget to subscribe for dank new videos every single day. The principal, easily the most annoying thing. The first school I worked at, the principal would go to every classroom every day, sometimes multiple times per day. He and the vice principal tried to micromanage every aspect of teachers' classrooms. All it did was disrupt the flow of the class and piss off both my students and me on a daily basis. University level, so I am not sure if this counts, but he would come to class and watch television shows on his laptop. I don't have an attendance requirement. I asked him to please just watch them outside instead of coming to class. He said he was very sorry and would not do it again. After that, he was still pretty clearly watching shows in class on his laptop, with the sound down, but would click away anytime I came near. I don't understand. My mom taught middle school kids with high functioning autism for a decade. For her it was a toss-up between the boy who wouldn't stop masturbating in class, and the girl who refused to wear pads during her period and just bled all over chairs. Edit: to answer the same questions, the boy wasn't just whipping his junk out in class, he did it through his pants or through the pockets. They managed to curb the behavior by banning him from wearing sweatpants and giving him safe objects to fidget with, because I think it was a fidget habit for him. A fidget cube would have gone a long way to helping, I'm sure, but this was 13 plus years ago. Chronic masturbating is definitely really common in autistic kids, it's just that most of them aren't this dedicated. The girl hated wearing pads because of sensory defensiveness, which is common in autistic kids. I sort of understood where she was coming from. A little bit. Pads feel like diapers when you're not used to them, even when you're neurotypical. If you have sensory issues, I'm sure it's so much worse. At first her mom kept her home on her period, then eventually just sent her to school with a cushion and a towel to sit on to avoid ruining school property. Eventually she was pulled out of school and sent elsewhere. She was pretty bright and academically did well, but she was some distance beyond socially inept and clearly needed help. These two were unusual. Most kids weren't quite this bad, just a bit odd. I was doing relief supply teaching at an all-boys school in North London. The school had a reputation for being difficult, but never did I expect that I would have to try to break a group of 16-year-old boys commencing a game of tug-o-war across the science lab. When they don't want to answer my question and the silence through the whole class is deeper than the Mariana Trench. I've had a few, some common and some irregular, so I'll just make a list. For context, I teach English in a non-English speaking country. Not all of these are in class things, but I figured I'd write them anyway. When you explain something to the student, as if they have questions, they say no. 2 minutes later, it comes up again, they ask the same question again, you explain again, etc., etc. The cycle continues for an hour wherein they absorb nothing. Hands in pants, hands in nose, hands in butt, then they want a high five, putting no effort into writing legibly, then being surprised they can't read their own writing. You didn't give me homework. Yes I did. I explained it to you in class and showed you examples. I sticky noted it. I highlighted it. I had you write it on the homework sheet I made for you because you always say this. You had homework. Why aren't you giving my child homework? I am. If your child is lying to you and saying they don't have any, that's an issue you need to deal with. If you want me to tell you what the homework is, please give me your contact or come in to check on your kid's progress after class. I'll be happy to talk to you. Unrealistic expectations. So many parents want their children to suddenly be intermediate level speakers in a few months with only one lesson a week, and then pressure the kid unfairly. Screaming. Kids screaming because they think it's funny. All class. I get it. Kids are kids, but when you're not allowed to use their native language to discipline them and they're beginning speakers, it creates a pretty maddening situation. Not the fault of kids. I love teaching kids, so most stuff can be viewed in a positive or humorous way, but these are some that get on my nerves. Overall, though, it's really fun. I had an aunt that was a teacher in the 60s. She told me a story about another older teacher that had hearing aids. This was when this is cutting edge technology, but kids being kids figured out if they took 2 pennies and rubbed them together, it creates interference with hearing aids. People were a lot more self-conscious about this back then. Self-conscious teacher would leave the room, turn the hearing aid down and return to the room. Then the kids would all just mouth their answers Milli Vanilli style. Teachers leave the room, turn the hearing aid back up and again. I've been teaching in a North London secondary school for almost 10 years now. I love the job, but the annoying things have to be when you finally get students settled and working quietly and suddenly a spider bee fly appears or it starts to snow. It's game over at that point if you've less than 20 minutes of the lesson left. Younger first year students, 11 years, who walk into the classroom and want to talk to you and shout "sa over and over again like, just go and sit down and be quiet. It's not so bad if it's one or two, but when you have 10 of them trying to get your attention at the same time, it gets a bit ridiculous. Bottle flipping. Do it and your bottle dies. Students who laugh or attempt to make fun of others if they get a question wrong. Classrooms are all about making mistakes, so it irritates the hell out of me. Lying. If I call you out on something you shouldn't be doing, just say sorry and stop doing it. You're highly unlikely to get in further trouble from me then. Saying I didn't do that is kind of insulting when I just watched you shove a handful of crisps chips down your gullet. It's also a guarantee I'll take it further. I had a student one year who smelled awful. The moment he was in a certain radius, you'd get hit with a wave of BO that would knock you over. The smell was so bad that the next class would complain because his stank would linger. I felt bad because I actually liked him and thought he was nice. He had to have been bullied. I'd see kids putting their shirts over their noses and I couldn't get mad at them. It was really distracting. I felt so bad because I also didn't want to go near him because he made me gag. We talked to his mom. The nurse gave him deodorant and said he could get some whenever he needed it. They even offered to let him use the shower in the gym. Nothing helped. The kid doesn't care about hygiene. There may have been a reason why. Maybe he was abused or no one taught him how to wash. But the only thing that got rid of that smell is when the school year ended and I didn't have him anymore. I instruct volunteer firefighters. There's one group that sticks out that were troublesome. They wouldn't stop arguing with us for 30 minutes over 1 point on the test. Eventually it got to the point where I had to just say no, you're wrong. That's it. It's over. They were pissy for the rest of training over it. And these are adults, 20, 55 years old. I really want to know what the question was.
If it's faster to slide down the pole feet first or head first.
Students teacher here. I was teaching freshman bio at my old high school. This happened last winter. I had a student that would dress in all black and he would always draw all over himself. Shit like satanic stars, Nazi symbols, edgelord shit. He had the Lorax fanfiction for his background on his school laptop. No joke. He would cuss at me, never do his work. One time I handed him a packet and he threw it in the trash right in front of me and his special needs aide. I was a pretty chill teacher. The kid threw a party and got me a card and cookies on my last day, so I know I wasn't that bad. He would always come to school with bandage wrap or a brace you can get at Walgreens. Come up with some story of what happened which were totally not true. Such as, he fell off a 3-story building doing BMX tricks, twisted his knee beating up his neighbor for trying to break into his house, hurt himself by crashing his mom's stolen car after a high-speed chase by police. Yep, sure. Just how much of a danger small children are to themselves and others. We've got to catalog every playground injury, which while understandable in theory is actually incredibly time consuming. And the kids have been taught to find a grown-up for everything, so 1 minute you'll be applying ice to someone who ran into a post, and then filing in the same forms for the kid who wanted a band-aid because they have a hangnail. Once during a year 10 maths class I was teaching, there was a really bad smell. It smelled like poop. At first I thought maybe someone had just farted, but it was much stronger than that. The students started to move away from the smell and it turned out they were all moving away from one student. It turned out that one of the students in the class struggled from incontinence and had actually pooped his pants during my maths class. I never thought that I would have to deal with that considering I only teach senior high school students.
The paycheck.
Oof. Some of my teachers openly talk about issues like that with the class and I feel bad most of the time for them. There's a requirement in NY of how much seat time you have to pass certain classes. Like you need X number of labs to take the science regents or whatever. Some dumbass parents and students use all their sick days. Let's say they get 14 before true and failing, when they don't feel like coming to school. By February they're usually cutting it close and come every day. The annoying part? They come sick all the damn time. I've had kids go to the A with the flu at night, show up to school with a mask and 103 fever the next morning. Or they have some vomiting bug and jump up, take the trash can and bolt in the middle of my class. Or they can't see with pink eye in both eyes. Or they blow their nose sniffle every 30 seconds. The worst part is the disruption then infecting everyone else. If you try to send them out they freak out and parents call saying the school is out to get their kid and threatens to pull them out so they count as a dropout. Schools get flagged by the state for dropout rates. Other than that it's just when kids decide to act all tough and try to tell you off. About once every 4-5 years I get one who decides they're going to try to be cool and put me in my place. Edit. If you have an actual doctor's note you get free private tutoring at a certain point from teachers at your house. So chronic conditions are totally fine and not an absence problem. Edit 2. I'd also like to point out, schools and teachers are graded on how effective they are based on state tests. That's likely a reason why missing too many days is automatically a fail issue. So you can only be sick for X amount of days or else you fail. That's the stupidest thing I've heard in a while, especially if it's only 14 days. It's to prepare you for work life where in the US there are no federal laws concerning sick days in the workplace.
Land of the free.
Thank you for watching. Smash that like button like it's a
Thick booty.
And don't forget to subscribe to okpjdark if you like nice things, like new videos every day. See you tomorrow.